Love that. So, like, I'm reading everything I get my hands on with lean construction and picking Charles' brain, and I've done commercial construction, and I see the value of implementing lean in commercial.
Yes.
How the heck do you do that in residential when everything is so scattered and blown up and
Yes.
everybody's doing their own thing, right? You don't have the luxury of a job site trailer where all the foremen meet in the morning. You say, okay, guys, this is our focus for the day. What's your constraints? No, I got 57 jobs going, and they're in 3 different jurisdictions, and I'm one guy racing between all of them. So it's like, really, we wanted to try and take this show and really let you share some of your wisdom on how we can take some of these great concepts, even if we're just picking and choosing.
Yeah.
You know, where it works. Like, I'm reading 2-Second Lean, and they were talking about the 5 S's, and he's saying, well, the 5 S's don't work for me, but the 3 S's, these 3 things work for me, and it's awesome. So my thought is we kind of pick your brain a little bit, and granted, I'm the residential side. Charles is probably going to stay more commercial side unless I can recruit him to Virginia. but really just trying to say, you know, what's worked for you, and what can I steal and make work in our side. So, man,
open
you can
forum. Yeah,
open forum.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I will say the fact that, Joshua, you've got significant responsibility. One observation I've had is y'all, I know you read the Lean Builder, and it gets people fired up about the last planner system, which is an amazing system. And Charles, I think you're superintendent, and it's very easy for people to believe that the last planner system is the end all be all of lean. And it is absolutely not. It's just like just a snowflake on a glacier of stuff to learn. And so with that, depending on the level of influence and responsibility you have in an organization, that will dictate or maybe frame out which tools best suit you or which tools you're best equipped to deploy. So like superintendents, last planner system's a great one. 5S is a great one, right? Like there's all this stuff that you could just go do. And just to kind of get the conversation kicked off, what my recommendation is, and I just discovered this like 3 years ago because I tortured a lot of people with, you must do everything and do everything perfectly.
Right.
You know, before I got to the general contractor side of the business, I worked for a mechanical contractor for 17 years. And I had significant responsibility and influence in the organization. So I dictated a lot of stuff. And it was painful for everybody, not just me, including the teams out there. So with that, what my number one recommendation is, if you're picking the 5 S's, Joshua, like you said, if you want to do the 3 S's before you get to standardize and sustain, do that, because it's all progressive learning. Like these are new concepts and new tools that we're learning, and conceptually we understand them. But when we go and deploy them, we deploy them with other human beings. And I know y'all know this, human beings make shit hard.
Yeah.
Like it's just a natural thing. When we start interacting with people, we've got to get people, we got to help them understand how it's going to serve them. It's got to happen for them and not to them. And it's real easy to get it twisted and do it to them. And I mean, for real, you can't lean anybody out. So the best way to do this is to look within your the way you function, the way you roll, the way you do things, and start applying or practicing the tools that you've come across that seem like, oh, this makes sense, directly to your work. So you have some kind of experience around the pain and the weirdness of it before you start integrating other people into the change. And I know that that's like super high level, but I just want to make sure that's out there, because that's going to be, it will save you a lot of headache as we go deeper into deployment of this stuff.
Yeah, for real. I think that's actually valuable, a valuable lesson, right? Like if you cannot affect the changes on yourself, then you can't really be expected to try and affect the changes on other people. That's really what we're talking about.
You got it.
And not just that, but there are so many tools, and I think the big thing that I've always come across is that even if we use, we can use the term lean, right? Yep. But in reality, and this is kind of what I try to get across on LinkedIn fairly often, but it's not that, it's just improving upon your position, right? Yep. So it's just a continuous process improvement, and getting that across to people, especially in our industry. You're going to run into people that are constantly doing it. They just don't know they're doing it, right? And yes. that's the problem. That's because the second you slap a fancy term on there, right? Yeah. They get real nervous all of a sudden about what you're about to talk to them about.
Yeah, because we don't like change naturally, right? I want to stay. You can ask all my exes; they will tell you how much I don't like change. So when we come with this new term or this new, skin on something that's always been done, people will deflect naturally. They're going to defend. Now, I recognize here's a distinction that has served me very well. And it's, again, my progression of how I started learning this stuff is when I first started using or practicing the tools, I was solely focused on optimizing output. Mm-hmm. And that's good, right? We're here to make money, but it made the experience or the interaction, and rather it stunted the learning of all the people that I was dealing with, because it was just this go faster type thing.
It was just about money.
Yeah, it was just about money. Yeah, it was just about money. And as I went through it, it became clear that it's more than just about money. It's about developing problem-solving capabilities, bringing problems to the surface immediately before they're a damn train wreck. And mm-hmm. so that's a new thing, right? But usually, hell, like I said, I was a superintendent for a mechanical contractor, and if I knew that my air devices were going to be delayed 2 or 3 weeks, and I knew I was going to have to tell Charles, and Charles was going to jump my ass about it, guess what? I wasn't going to tell Charles until it was it had to happen. But that didn't help you. It didn't help the team. So putting these things in place will create a situation where those types of problems are surfaced earlier, and then we can adapt and adjust so that things maintain flow. And so then that causes this culture change, right? If we're putting lean stuff into play and we're surfacing problems, and you still jump up and down and email my boss and all the other bosses, I'm still going to hide the problems. Right. So there's this change in behavior that is necessary for everybody in the value stream. Now, the other part that I just got to that I think it's transformational. I think back, it's oh, now I know why nobody likes me. This is why. One of the main reasons out on the job site anyways, is I've learned now in all the stuff, right? 5S, last planner system, process mapping, value stream mapping, spaghetti diagrams, all of the stuff that is out there to be done, target value design. If it's not focused, or rather, when it is focused on removing the burden of the human beings that are doing the work out on the floor, when it is for that purpose, it's like magic, man. Yep. They want you back. They're going to invite you. They're going to explain to you. They're going to show you. You become their advocate as trade partners, even though they're not your direct reports or whatever. It's a big deal. And so, go ahead.
No, I think that's really important. That's a huge takeaway here, right? Because I could give 2 licks about making and seeing a whole bunch of diagrams, right? If it has nothing to do with me, right? Yes. I could care less. I care less what the project team wants in the office. I don't care what the CEO wants, whatever. And if they're listening to this, just hypothetical. But I could care less, right? Because it may not be directly impacting me. Now, when it begins to actually impact me, that's important, right? Yes. what are key KPIs that I can measure?
Yes.
Right. So those are the kind of things that we're starting to talk about, where I can legitimately help my trade partners in the field, because otherwise, why am I collecting data at all?
Exactly. Oh my God, you're speaking my language. Like,
yeah, man.
If you ain't gonna do nothing with it, why are we collecting the damn thing?
Why are we collecting it? That's exactly it. Yeah. So I will collect my own data. I collect data on myself. I also collect data to a degree on some other metrics that I will, probably eventually share with people. But, again, that's for me to figure out how to frame. The other thing I think, and this kind of you're alluding to buy-in, right? Like, how do you generate buy-in? And especially for Josh, that's going to be tricky. And
yes.
I don't know, especially, depending on, I'd say potentially younger generations, probably easier to gain access to. But guys that have been doing this, and I work with guys that have been doing this for 30 or 40 years, right? Yeah. Like, I don't really expect them to change. And I think that's part of my discoveries or understandings as I've gone through some of this lean stuff is that I don't necessarily know if you can expect everybody to adopt it, but just hang on to the ones that do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think there is a lot of truth to that, especially the younger generation. And here's where I think the big disconnect is when it comes to construction with the older generation, the younger generation. We today, or say 20 years ago when we started in this business, 25 years ago, we didn't have all this technology. We didn't have a cell phone at our fingertips. We didn't have email. We didn't have anything, right?
Yeah.
And now you fast forward, those guys 25 years ago were 35, 40 years old. Now they're on the last leg of their career. Now you're forcing technology on them. Yep. You will use this technology to build this structure. You will use technology to do this building. You're going to give us all of this data that I'll do nothing with, and you're going to like it. So that's where our disconnect is. And I think for leaders in this industry, and this is why I'm really big on this program right now, is that if we take this data and we put it in terms that everybody can understand, and we create some kind of game with the data, and then tell them what's the reason for collecting the data, what's the reason for something as simple as walking your job every day and updating your schedule, what's the reason behind it, right? Because once I understand why you want me to do that, once I understand, oh, you're focused on trade flow, oh, you're focused on not having materials sitting on a job for 3 days until we use it, you're focused on not having materials sitting in a warehouse for 4 weeks because good thing we have it, but we don't really need it. So once they understand the why behind everything we're doing, once they understand the reason behind the data, I think I'd like to say you quickly get buy-in. And I'm saying this, I started putting in place a schedule report 2 weeks ago at my current company. The first week we had just said we had 5 activities per home per week, right? Or for the week. The second week of doing that same thing, we doubled our production.
Yep.
So once the team could see the value of why they were doing it, why there was focus, and they could see that there was some attention on it, people quickly jumped and got in gear. And hopefully move that into more trade flow.
Yep.
Setting or putting our guys in a position of success, which is what all this stuff is about. Everything we're talking about, and the reason we want to have you on here was how do we put everybody in a position to be successful and go home safely?
Absolutely. I mean, you talked, Josh, about the why, right? Helping people understand the purpose of the thing. And, we're talking about data, but it's applicable to anything. And as example, when ProPress came out, I was like, that's garbage, right? What about craftsmanship and the artistic flair that plumbers have when soldering and brazing copper? We're getting soft. Until I had to cut in a 4x2 copper tee into an existing freaking run. And I'm like, ProPress is the greatest thing in the world. And so somebody could have told me why it was amazing and why it was great and why I needed to adopt it. But it wasn't until that thing alleviated some of my pain that I was able to appreciate it and advocate for it. And so when it comes to deploying lean stuff, and there's just so much of it, give yourself permission to do a little bit at a time and get good at it, and then add and build and add and build. But whatever it is you're going to deploy, it's got to serve the people. Like rather, one of the columns or pillars of lean is respect for people and continuous improvement. And the reason, from my estimation, that respect for people and continuous improvement are both equally relevant is because we can absolutely have continuous improvement and chew through people, grind through people, and just wear them the hell out. And that's what we've been doing in our industry, except the improvement wasn't that great. But we chew through people. Nobody wants to come work on a job site where you're going to get yelled at and cussed at and have stank ass toilets. Like, come on. So that's why the respect for people part is very important, because yes, we're going to improve, but we're also going to respect people. And respect for people doesn't mean I'm going to pat your behind every time because you showed up on time. Like, bro, that's your job. You're not going to get a parade for that. But respect for people is, if I got a booger on my face, you're going to tell me I got a booger on my face, and I'm going to straighten up and we're going to continue forward. I get challenged. I get nurtured, supported to meet the challenge, and we're all learning all the time together. That's respect for people. So we've got to have both of those things in play. And when it goes to buy-in, it really is, what are we deploying and how is it serving everybody? And too often I've been able to see folks really don't understand the intended outcome of the tool. And so they're deploying it to the best of their understanding, and they're textbooking it, right? Check the box, check the box, check the box. And it sucks for everybody. But they keep doing it. And it's like, no, we're going to have, like the last planner system, daily huddles. Should only be 15 minutes long. And what the reason for the daily huddle is to say, where are we? What have we accomplished? Where are we going? That's it. What it usually turns into is 20, 25 minutes of ass chewing, another 20 minutes of finger pointing, and then the rest of it, hurry up and go finish. That's not fun, and that's really not accomplishing anything. Right. So you're not meeting the intended outcome because we don't understand what it is. And so we continue to do it and do it and do it. And it's just like, it reminds me of my grandma. She used to say, she said, mijo, agarra el tónico verde, which is get a switch from the tree. So you're making me use this system. I'm trying to use this stupid system, and then you're going to beat me with it? Like, no, I don't want to do this thing. So, understanding the intended outcome is critically important. And really, and this is a pretty damn obnoxious question, the more time you spend in the lean space, you'll hear it a lot. But anyways, hypocrite. I am a master hypocrite, by the way. So the question is this: what problem are you trying to solve? Right. We need to let the problem pull the tool, pull the technique, pull whatever that is based on the problem. What gap are we trying to close? And then all of a sudden, when we're deploying the right thing, let's say it's visual management and we want to make things clear, we want to know what problems are happening, or just receiving material on site, right? I mean, I have simple stuff, floor plan layout. Plumber, you got this spot. This is your area. Sheet metal guy, you're here. Carpenters, you're here. It's visually displayed. We can all see it. And when I walk the job, I can see whose material's not in the appropriate place. Now, normally people will say that's kindergarten crap. Why would I do that? But when people are losing time because they're crawling over other people's material or dragging pallets out of their damn way, all of a sudden that kindergarten stuff is pretty damn cool. What are your thoughts?
So the thought did come to mind while you were saying that, and it was going to be to caveat the understanding of the why, or asking, when you ask the question of what problem are we trying to solve, that's what I was getting at. when that question is asked and you ask it routinely, what you'll find out is the problem that you're trying to solve isn't actually the problem that is creating the issue, right? And so that's what I was going to say. Thank goodness. So we can delete everything prior to that, and there we go.
You got it.
But in reality, that's what you're talking about, right? Because what you'll find every single time is like, what problem am I trying to solve? You figure out that you actually don't have a problem, right? It's the classic. Don't fix what's not broke, right? Mm-hmm. And that is part of, this goes back to the adoption piece, where people are so concerned when you ask that question that you're going to automatically say, all right, we're going to fix that little issue. And then I'm going to ask this question again, we're going to fix that little issue. And so they're going to get spun up on just trying to fix every single little problem. And that's not what I'm trying to get at. What I want to do is fix the big issue that's underlying all of them. So, that's what I was thinking.
you got it. And dude, so that takes us to like A3 thinking. I don't know if y'all are familiar with A3 problem solving.
Not too familiar, no.
Okay. So which requires us to do some root cause analysis. And you probably heard that before.
Yes.
And because and I think in our industry, because I am here to save the day, right? I'm Superman. So if there's a problem, I got an answer for you. Rarely do we say, hold on, let's think about that. Let's examine that further. And so the first question is, hey, I got a problem. Okay, well, we got to do this. Let's deploy all these resources and go squash that cockroach. And that's really not the problem. It's a symptom of a problem. It's just what we need to do is transition and really become more self-aware that when those things pop up, that's not a call to action. That's a call to investigate.
Right.
And go out to see, you'll hear it in the lean language, go to the Gemba. Go to where the damn thing is happening.
Right.
The person that brought you the problem is saying, it may be in design, it may be out on the job site, it may be at the supply house. I mean, it could be anywhere. But as soon as we're aware of the problem, we've got to go to where it's at. And so this is where it's difficult because we're action biased, right? We want to have our Superman cape and I fixed it. Even though I work 90 hours a week, I'm a problem solver. And I, again, hypocrite, because that's how I used to roll. Instead of, let me go out there, this is a problem, I don't like it, you don't like it. Who else? We're not the only ones that are being affected by the problem. So now let's go understand the problem from everybody's perspective, because the further we get into that, David Verbal, he's a mentor and coach of mine, and I love that. He's like, Jesse, you got to go get the dirty details on your boots. Like if you're making calls and sending emails to get more information, you're failing.
Yeah.
Period. You got to go there. And then when you go there, you can see objectively, because the people that are being interrupted with the problem, they have an emotional connection to it because it's kicking them in the face. And you're the leader, and so you're removed enough such that you won't be blinded by the immediate or acute pain of the situation. And so you can observe and objectively assess what the contributing factors are, and then come up with a plan to do something about those things. But we don't do that, right? I get an email, I get a phone call, let's go, let's fix it, call so-and-so, overtime, release the material, and we exacerbate the damn problem. That's how we're designed.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully recognize that. We used to do when I was working in manufacturing, we do Kaizen, we call Kaizen blintzes, right? You go to the place where you wanted to try and do some kind of performance improvement or process improvement, and you'd have 3, 4, 5 guys watching the actual process take place. You'd take notes, you'd see a whole bunch of stuff, and you go back and you discuss them and begin actually putting together what you saw was wrong or right.
Yep.
And every single time somebody saw something different. Every time.
All the time.
So it's just really incredible.
Oh yeah.
But I think in fairness though, that's the way that our industry has always been, that you have to put your cape on, rush out there and save the day. You know,
Right.
and as you first get into these leadership roles, it's the exact same way. And then, everybody else is doing their 40 hours a week, and whoever's in charge is running 60, 70 hours a week. They've got two ex-wives in their their rear view mirror. And not that I don't have two ex-wives. I hope
I
don't
do.
have two ex-wives.
So
Yeah.
pretty accurate.
But I think we all made those mistakes. And, for me, as I've gotten older and more mature in my positions, when problems come up, I try to calm the situation. I'm saying, okay, what happened? What did the drawings say? What did the residential doesn't know anything about specifications and submittals, but I use that. I'm saying, okay, what's the submittal say, guys? What the hell's the submittal, Josh? I'm like, okay, go back and look. What is the cabinet supposed to be? How is this thing supposed to be installed? What did the drawings say? The 2020s, your cabinet layouts. I'm like, go back through and put all these pieces back together. And what I find is in residential is we don't want to put all that effort into it. We just want to blame somebody. Even yesterday, one of my guys blamed himself. He said, I screwed it up. The buck stops with me. I'm like, yeah, that's true to a point, but the framer framed it wrong. We missed it. Our QA guy missed it. Like, everybody missed it, but that doesn't mean that it's all your fault. Like, we hire guys to come in there. They have supervision. And I said, listen, if we learn from that mistake and we don't repeat the mistake, no big deal. Don't beat yourself up over something so simple. It's just construction at the end of the day. We can tear down a house and rebuild the house, right? No big deal. But, getting back to that root of the problem and really solving that and then working forward, that's where the real growth happens.
Yes.
Because for so many years, not leadership, management just beat you over the head. The general contractor on commercial job sites, points the finger at everybody. And I wanted to tell you a funny story of my commercial days. I was working for a fire and security company as a project manager. And I don't know anything about fire and security. I'm not an electrician. I don't do any of that stuff. But they wanted somebody from the building side to help them talk to the general contractor to give them a place at the table. And I was like, well, I can do that. So we were so far behind on this project, and not just we, it was like the entire project was behind. So we had to do a daily huddle at 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. every single day like clockwork. And for 3 weeks, we go in there and we just get destroyed every single time. The guys, it's Randy and Randy. That's the two guys, right? They're just ripping our heads off every single day. And I'd go back to the trailer and I'd say, okay, guys, this is what we need to do. They're putting the blame on us. But we're going to repackage this thing and we're just going to kick everybody's teeth in. We're going to go out there and do our work, be extremely clean, be extremely efficient. We had our plan set up. We were highlighting the lines that we had ran. 3 weeks of this goes by. We're out of work. We can't keep working because we're not running the pathway. The electrician on the job is running the pathway. So we go into that meeting and Randy, one of the Randys, asks us, I need you guys to stay behind, and I need the superintendent from the GC to stay behind. So, like, no big deal. This guy, Randy, goes on for 15 minutes just destroying us, man. And the more he gets into it, the closer I get to him. I'm leaning forward in my chair like I'm excited because I'm ready for this battle. Yeah. And once he's done, he starts running out of steam. I ask him 3 questions, and I'm just like, are we doing everything we can? Are we making progress on the job? Are we doing what we can, and can we not do anything more? And he says yes to all 3 of them. And I said, well, let's drop this disappointed father routine. Let's get back to work. What do you say? And he said, okay. Claps his hands. We walk out of the trailer. And the general contractor, the GC superintendent, said, did that shit just happen? And I'm like, hey, man, we are right. Let's go back to work.
Nice.
So it was fun because I was able to beat them by motivating our team to play their own game and just completely turn the tables on them. And I think what happens is that we take it personally that they're attacking us.
Yeah.
And it's human nature to take it personally. But I think if we take it in a way and said, how can I make this better? How do I win in this situation?
Yes.
And once you do, man, it's freaking fun. But it was interesting, the daily huddles, because that obviously was not the intention of the daily huddle, but we made some good use of that daily huddle.
You gotta leverage it, man. another thing you mentioned, and it's really it's conditioning. It's just the way we think about things and the way we respond to things in our industry. We are. It's very easy for us to find. Well, the first question is who did it. And so when we're talking about root cause analysis, one of the tools is the 5 whys. Have y'all heard of the 5 whys?
Oh yeah.
Right? You just ask why, over and over and over. What most people do is the 5 whos.
That's right.
That's a good point.
Which trade partners were it? It was the damn plumber. It's always the plumber and
It's always
and
the
painter.
plumber. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go after the plumbers and painter. Who's the superintendent? Who's the foreman? Who was the guy that was on the floor? Oh, it was him. And guess what? The root cause? Training. Really? Like, if your root cause always lands on training, you're wasting your time.
Right.
Because you really don't understand what the hell's going on. But it's just a thing that we have. As soon as I can blame somebody, I feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes more effort to examine the contributing factors to the situation and remove the people from the situation. And it is my belief 100% that people, situations, problems develop as a result of poorly designed systems. And the people are just victims within that system. And our leaders, like you guys, and that's why when you reached out and said, hey man, let's talk, I was like, hell yeah, especially like in the residential space. My dad back in the day when I got into the trade, my dad was a residential plumber. And looking back, the way he functioned and the way I've learned how to function, I'm like, oh my, there is so much space to improve out there. And really so much pain for like the independent contractors that are getting paid by the unit. If they show up, they show up and they can pump out 1 or 2 or 3 houses a day if and when things are flowing. But if they're not, you're cutting into their check, right? They're losing money. And then guess what? You get deprioritized next week because you didn't have your stuff in a pile. So it's this domino train wreck effect that can absolutely be addressed. But in my head, it's going to take a leader like yourself, Joshua. I mean, that's the exciting part. A lot of, Charles, you also asked, depending on where you are within the organization, it will absolutely impact the amount of influence or the results that you can have on your lean efforts. And so anytime there's a leader that says, hey, I want to talk to you about this lean stuff, I'm like, hell yeah, man, let's go, because you've got the influence and the authority to make the investment, because it's going to take education, it's going to take learning, and it's going to take a change in your response or reaction to less than amazing situations. I'm going to tell you right now, and Charlie, you've probably already experienced it. When you start understanding the 8 wastes, you'll see them everywhere. And I think you guys, y'all know, right? Like I've heard y'all's podcast and you're like, damn, it's like, yes. Now, when you start really investigating and looking at things, pausing, like when you get to the point where default mode is to pause and examine, holy hell, be careful, man, because there's like so much more that we don't even
there's
know.
There's so many rabbit holes that you can end up going down. That's why I think, one of the very valuable lessons that we're covering here is that you need to take it at small chunks, small bites, right?
Yes.
Like you can't eat the whole elephant at once, right?
Yep.
It's really important for everybody involved, including those that you're trying to get the buy-in from. I think that's really one of the important lessons to get across to them is like, we're not going to do everything all at once.
Yes.
We're going to take one thing at a time, right? Like how can we eliminate excess lumber after a build, right? Like
that is perfect.
Stuff like that. Because I mean, Josh and I were talking about this earlier. Like we got the build cycles down. We can keep build cycles super short, but almost always you will see excess material waste off the side. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and there's cost associated with that. I mean, hell, with the cost of lumber right now, it's just money gone. Like
never
gone.
Yep. Never.
Well, that's even a big thing that I just started talking about this week at work is even the dumpsters. I said, what's been our budget on dumpsters per house? I said, we budget for 5 dumpsters per house. I said, how many do we typically use? We don't know. We know we need the dumpster. We just use the dumpster. I said, man, guys, we don't even, but here's the real shocker. Like I asked somebody else, another builder, and it was the exact same
I
response.
don't know. Yes.
It's like, I understand it's like a small piece, $300
No.
a dumpster, so it's really not a lot. But it's not the dumpster; it's what's going in the dumpster is what
all the
concerns me
labor,
more.
every step that somebody takes to that dumpster and back to the job site is waste.
That's right.
And so those
That's a good
numbers
point.
that we're not counting. That's why I got chills. I'm getting excited. Like
Me too.
that is a phenomenal place to start because it's quantifiable. You can go through all your damn invoices and figure out how many dumpster terms did you have on the job. And if your goal is 5, like if you budgeted for 5, you know this. If it's more than 5, you're losing money. And maybe there may be some value in capturing some video or just maybe 30, 45 minutes of standing and watching people work. If you got the resources to just capture a video for a whole day and watch it and count the trips.
You just blew my mind, Jesse.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, dude. Yeah, we do that. Like, I mean,
that's gonna be
we don't
scary.
really do that right
Yes.
now, but you can do it. It's awesome. Get a GoPro, throw a GoPro up on not on a telephone pole, but like a telescoping pole or something like that. So it actually is watching the whole job site, and you will be aghast at the number of trips to a dumpster that are taken and all that kind of stuff. So we used, when I was doing residential prior to this, we had smaller dumpsters due to the size of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So it was either 12 or 16 yard dumpster, right? So not huge, fairly inexpensive. And it was, for us, we enjoyed it because the guys could do a same day turnaround, right? Mm-hmm. Pick up, drop off. I'd send them a text. It was freaking awesome. The kicker, though, is that because we had such rapid turnaround, we weren't scared to empty dumpsters. So I could have a 3/4 full dumpster and be like, yeah, pull it.
Yep. Take it. No biggie.
Hindsight, costing us $350 every time they freaking pull a dumpster off. And not to mention, like, God forbid somebody dropped concrete in one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, if that happened, the dumping company would call and be like, we can't actually turn this in because, we're going to get hit with a $300 fee. Do you want us to hit you with that? And I was like, well, I guess you kind of have to.
What are you going to do?
Dump.
Yeah. So here's like this. I love this dumpster example. So one, you can count the lag measure, which is the number of turns. Mm-hmm. Right? That's quantifiable easily. And then you can say, oh my God, I'm losing money. And then you can zoom out and you can count the number of trips people are making to that dumpster. So then the question becomes, how do I minimize those trips? And usually what we do is say, hey guys, make fewer trips. Like, really, you weren't helpful. They don't want to make the trips either. So then we can start analyzing the stuff. What is causing the trips? And so here's an example. Again, plumber. To set a water closet, commercial water closet, there is one box for the toilet, for the porcelain. There's one box for the damn toilet seat. There's another box for the flush valve. And there's another box for the damn DAP that I got to caulk the joint with. And within the box for the flush valve, there's like 900 pieces of plastic and stuff.
Yep.
And now, as I'm installing that fixture, I'm peeling all this stuff apart. I'm a journeyman plumber, so that means I'm not free. And all this stuff, I'm just throwing it because I'm focused on installing the damn fixture. Then I install the fixture. Then I got to bend over 12 times to pick up all those stupid pieces of whatever, put them all into one box, and carry that shit out to the dumpster. All of that is non-value added activity. So how do we resolve that issue? So we've done this, and it was a hard sell, but we actually did it. We said, let's receive our fixtures at the warehouse. And we're going to put an apprentice, assign this apprentice to take all of those boxes, and take the box of the toilet seat out of the box, put it in the big box with the porcelain, take the flush valve stuff and do some, pretty generic pre-assembly, blue tape, all the little knick-knacky things, take all the little plastic wrap, get rid of that, put that in the porcelain box. We will ship that to the job site that way. And so now there's only one box that has to come out of the building. I mean, yes, there was still trash, but we moved it somewhere else. It's much safer. So not only did we move it somewhere else and improve the safety and the quality of the situation, we minimized the risk to the human being because now they're doing this work in a controlled space. And the plumber, the journeyman plumber, the high wage person is not wasting their time and their talent on this other tertiary crap. So zoom out again, think about electricians and their light fixtures. Same thing, right? Think about all of those things where we ship trash into the job site and then ship it out. What can we do so that it never hits the job site in the first place?
Yeah, perfect. I mean, same thing goes for framers, right? Like,
yep.
You can begin not to tell framers that they need to reduce the amount of cuts they're making on wood, although you'd like to, but in reality, like, once you start diving into it, do we need to order 10-foot 2x4s, or do we need to order 9-foot 2x4s?
Right.
Like, do we order the 10-footers so that you've got 8'4" walls, so you're going to use the last 16 inches as blocking in between all of your studs? Like, what are you going to start doing? And that's the kind of stuff that you can start looking at as far as all that goes. Because legit framers are probably, I mean, I would fill up dumpsters.
Yes.
When the framer was there.
Yes.
Like 2, 3, not a question.
Yes. Well, why isn't the blocking pre-cut off-site somewhere? You know how much you're going to need. Just give me 68 16-inch long pieces of blocking and put it in a nice little box, and boom, here you go. Yep. And if you got 10-footers, paint them red because they're for this size wall, the exterior wall. If you got 12-footers, paint them green. This is for the interior. I mean, the color code system so that people because here's the other fun part. Get comfortable with experimentation. Yeah. Because whatever genius idea you think you have, it's not that good.
It's not that good.
It's not that good. Yes. Yeah. And the people out there that are actually doing the work, man, they will make that thing mint.
Oh, yeah.
All day, every single time. Now, the way they communicate the improvement, it's going to be a little painful, right? Because for me, anyways, they've always told me, like, what the hell were you thinking? You're a stupid ass. Like, why did we do that? Like, well, this is what I was trying to accomplish. And like, whoa, that would be awesome. Why don't we do it this way? Like, oh, done. That's how we're going to do it forward. So I learned to shortcut that learning cycle. And before I go and deploy an improvement idea, I will not just be able to speak to it, but show them, get examples of whatever the thing is, draw a picture or get the damn material and say, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking. What do y'all think? And then they'll inform me like, oh, no. That sounds like a good idea, but it's stupid because of this. What if we did? And man, I'm just taking notes. Like, again, camcorders, because I can't keep notes fast enough so I can get all the audio and go back to that. And then, okay, boom, this is what we're going to do. And I'm not going to do it on the whole subdivision. I'm going to do it on one house first, right? And that's measure. That's it. You got it. One experiment at a time. Know what your original performance was. Deploy the improvement in one space. Make sure that it is having the outcome that you're seeking. So if the performance is better by 10 or 20%, and you still want to get down to 30, do it again. Make sure you can replicate the improvement before you release the Kraken and do it on the whole freaking subdivision.
So do you think, I think that's it. I think you nailed it, right? Because if I've got 57 houses under construction, it's just, you'll just never do it because it's overwhelming. So you just keep banging your head against the wall and bitching that you're throwing away money.
Yep.
So do you think, I mean, deploying this system on one house, and then maybe it's something that I take on one house and I build one house on my own to kind of show them this is how we can do it and get the buy-in, and maybe not even tell the trades that I'm running it, but have a younger individual running the house, but me just kind of behind the scenes coaching them along. That's actually a good idea, Jesse. I appreciate that. And I think that's exactly how we implement this thing and get this started. And then, because the next piece of this, and the only two questions I really formulated, you answered one, but the second one is really, how do you get buy-in from the trades?
So two things, and I've tested it, and it works every single damn time. The first most important thing is remove constraints from them doing the work. Like,
Yeah.
and so what I mean by that is, if it helps for me to go and squeegee water off the slab so that they can safely approach their work, I'm going to do that. Right now, obviously, we don't have to do that all the time. Maybe you can find somebody to do that. If it helps in freeing up their work, meaning if I get everybody to put all of their crap on wheels rather than pile it up on pallets or dunnage, that helps people. So I got to help them get there. So one is remove barricades. And what that takes is a sensitive, receptive ear, because, you know, we've been in the industry for a long time, and the way we communicate, we'll just say it's animated. And so it's very easy to receive that as a complaint and whining. But really, when we listen thoroughly, they're giving us the keys and letting us know how to best serve them. And so if we attack those things that we perceive as complaints, let's just reframe it. It's a constraint. What can I do to remove that for you? What do you think?
I think that's awesome. And trades come to me all the time. Josh, I don't want to bitch. I'm like, guys, if you're not telling me, I can't help you fix it. So please don't ever feel like you're just complaining or bitching. Like, if I think that, I'll take it off to myself, but I want to hear what your struggle is. And I think your last podcast, you touched on this, you know, taking away the word constraint and
make ready needs. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Right. It's
That's it.
That's my job, is to get things out of the way and clear the path and support the people. Right. That's it. I think many of us get that wrong. And I love that you touched on that again, because I think that's so critical with trade buy-in and construction manager, superintendent, whatever we want to call each other, buy-in, you know?
Yes. So that's the number one thing is remove constraints for them. The number two thing is make sure you and your team are aligned on the effort, on the change.
Good.
Because if you come across plumbers like me, I don't want to change. We clarified that. And if I see a chink in the armor, like Joshua wants to do this change and he's all excited and, you know, and then I see Charles is like, yeah, this is kind of bullshit. You better believe I am going to exploit that problem.
Yep. Yeah.
100%. So, you know,
good point.
It's difficult for everybody to be a cheerleader about it, but securing a hard commitment from everybody in the team to, look, you may not like it, but this is the direction you're going. We are going, and I need you to be behind it. I need you to refrain from undermining it. And you also got to be prepared to call that person out that is not going to be supportive of it, because the trade partners, the folks out there, our craft workers, don't want to change, and they're going to find a way to not change.
Yeah, every time,
all the time.
And it's not just, you know, our trade partners, right? Like, you know, you yourself, while even trying to exercise process improvement, may find yourself not exercising process improvement
all the time
because you don't want to, right? Like, guilty as charged. The thing that I wanted to touch on before I forgot about it, Josh, you mentioned like you taking on the responsibility of building a house, right? Or getting, you know, a younger guy on the team to execute in your stead, that kind of deal. What you need to remember is that what you want to do is try and pull all your quantifiables prior to you doing that.
Yes.
Because that's your actual baseline.
Oh, I'm with you.
You'll be creating the new baseline. Right.
You're right.
So like,
100% right.
Exactly. Yeah. Just thought about that, because like you don't want to pull data from this hypothetical that you've created. That'll cause some serious rifts real quick, because really what it's going to look like is, I can do this, why can't you? Now, that may be actually kind of what you're thinking, but at the same time, that's not the way you would want to start a lean initiative.
Yeah, that's certainly not the way that I want to implement that. So I do think you're right, having the data quantified and showing, and then knowing what my goal is.
Yes. Yeah. What is your current condition? Always. Yeah, because always. The reality is, if you have not defined your current condition, technically any improvement you do without nailing down that baseline really isn't an improvement.
Right.
Because what the hell did you improve? Right. I don't know. It feels better. well,
Right.
whoop-de-doo.
Yeah. That's exactly it. You'll have no way of actually capturing the true impact.
Yes.
That's good. This is good stuff, Jesse.
Oh man, I thank you guys for letting me nerd out about it, because it's,
Dude,
you know.
pretty much whenever you want.
Well, that's kind of what we're hoping. I mean, this is a journey. I do think there's so much potential in the residential market, and some of my thing is, when the recession hit, I was laid off. I was building houses. I was laid off. I went into being self-employed out of necessity, and slowly creep back in, went in the commercial sector, and came back to the residential. And I love this world and what we do here. Some of my drive to implement this lean and process improvement is because we will suffer another recession or another setback.
Oh, yeah.
And if we're not ready, it's going to punch us in the face and knock us down again. Whereas if we already have a system in place, it's just another opportunity, right? COVID was, in the beginning, I was saying the same thing. If we just bond and we come together and we focus on our schedules and good communication, be fine.
Yep.
And then everything, got flipped completely upside down and went the opposite direction. But the idea is still the same. And even though things are good today, I'm focused on making things great for tomorrow when things might not be good. So
right.
This has been really good for me personally. And I know Charles eats this stuff up too. And I'd love if we can do this, like, I don't know, 9 more times, right? Just kind of take little pieces of lean and tell you, okay, this is where we started. This is where we are. How do we continue building on this thing? And hopefully you'd keep doing this with us.
Dude, it would be my honor. Like that's yes, please.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah. Let's just do it. Count it done. It's happening.
Yeah, good, man. I think that's fun, because I think the one thing that I've seen in my studies that lean lacks is energy.
Oh,
I think there are some people you have a ton of energy and you're fun, and I love listening to your podcast. There are other podcasts that's great content, but it puts you to sleep, and you're like, if I could just get through this, I know there's a nugget there that I've got to get to. No disrespect to the others, but it's like lean is not sexy. You're right.
Yeah.
But it really is sexy. If we would tell people how damn exciting this thing is.
Yes.
Money is very, very sexy.
Oh,
right?
Make it rain, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. The problem is that lean just can't make that connection, man.
Yeah.
Hey, before we do close this out, I do want to make it clear, like, lean isn't just about making money, and Josh and I were hitting on this before. You cannot lose sight of the customer focus and the end user focus, right? Yep. So, like, Jesse, what you were saying, make sure your trade partners and your superintendents, like the guys in the field that are actually executing, really love the idea. And then, of course, your customers, right? Because in reality, none of us have a job if we don't have that. So I think those are huge. And when you get those two things right, the money comes.
Yes.
Yeah, it just becomes easy. And
easy.
And I think that's really the motivation behind everything. This whole journey for me is the customer experience. Yeah. You talk to anybody who's built a house, no matter who the builder is, there's negative things.
Yes.
I mean, I've had 2 houses built, right? And both experiences were atrocious. But I mean, the second one was a damn train wreck, but I really wanted the community, and I was like, don't really care. I do this for a living. You guys do your thing. We'll close. Then we'll just move in and we'll be us, right? So how do you change that? Because this is really a fun experience, and there's so much stuff going on. And so great point, Charles, bringing that up, because you're 100% right. The focus really is on the customer, and all of this stuff is to make that easier and better and more affordable for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, cool. I think we got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Round 1.
Yeah.
So who was
just
recording?
the beginning?
You was recording.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Y'all be cool,
Thanks,
man.
guys. Take care, y'all.
See ya.
Later.
Yeah.